I think I'm live. This is Professor Matthews, April 2023. How y'all doing? Come on, get the heck in here. I'll wait a little bit, see who's in the chat. Go ahead and ask me your questions, anything you want, if you're in the chat, but I'll deal with everything under the sun today. All things movies, April 2023. How y'all doing? So, I'm not feeling that great. I've got a little dizziness, vertigo, fatigue. It's pretty nasty in my opinion. I'm having a little trouble, and what's bizarre, you won't even believe this. Hi, Darth. Is that this started during a screening of Vertigo. During a screening of Vertigo, I got vertigo. I thought, man, this movie is very effective. It's actually making me dizzy. And then, of course, as I'm dealing with whatever the heck this is, allergies, who knows what it is. I watched David Lynch's Lost Highway, as some of you saw on Letterbox for the first time. What a movie that implants itself in your brain. I went to bed. I watched Lost Highway in the afternoon, went to bed, and I'm dreaming of Robert Blake's weird-looking, whatever the heck that is. So, I'm still thinking about Lost Highway because it is, I don't know, it's some kind of mind bomb. Or it kind of is brainwashing. It's a bug implanted in your brain, at least for me yet. No, I haven't seen Twin Peaks. You know, that's going to take a ton of time. I was only 12 years old, I think, when it came out. And I really have been intending to watch Twin Peaks for about a decade. I just haven't gotten to it. So maybe this summer. Because I feel a little love for Lynch lately. A lot of people are very interested in David Lynch who watch his channel and encouraging me to like him or to say things about him. So that's what I'm dealing with. Now, this live stream, of course, is me talking about what's on streaming services, what's leaving, what I would recommend, what's coming out in theaters, all those kinds of things about you and what movies do you pick to watch. Always a challenging, vexing question for me and for my family. What the heck do you watch? Because every option is out there under the sun. So I go through Criterion, of course. Whoops, I just went black. That was the wrong button. They don't sponsor me, but I like them. So I usually go through the Criterion Channel streaming service, whether you have that or not. You know, this is a good list to look at and see would I watch that or not. So I'll go through that in a minute. I will say promotion-wise, just sign up for my letterbox profile. I got a lot of people following me now. It's great. I have a Discord. And I have Substack, which I'm enjoying the odd essay I'm writing every week. And you can see these titles over here. I'm writing about whatever the heck I want. It's not audience-driven, demographic-driven. It's not search engine-driven. Just picking what I want. Maybe I'll write about Lost Highway. I don't know. I'm thinking about what the next topic is if I start to feel better. So anyway, sign up for my Substack because this really helps me. Even if it's free. Totally helps me figure out what directions to go in and what platforms to use. It's bewildering. There's 10 platforms. Which one should I be on, concentrate my time on? So there you go. But the Discord is doing pretty well. I enjoy that. So thanks, Hippolito. Then you like the 1923 essay. Yeah, that was watching silent movies from 1923. Very weird thing to do. I did want to highlight what's coming out this weekend only because I feel like finally after about 3 months I have a choice. It's not a great choice, but it's a choice in movie theaters. So whether you go to movie theaters or not, this April, it's Easter, so I think these are coming out early. There's this sort of middle-brow movie called Air. Ben Affleck directs, he's in it, Matt Damon, etc., right? I watched the trailer this morning, and I usually don't watch trailers for a lot of reasons. I don't like the way they prime my expectations in false directions. I don't like that they show too much. I don't like that they show final shots. But rant over. Air. This looked like corporate porn to me. Am I coining a term? I don't know. It looked like corporate porn. Like, here's a company. It's a nascent company. It's up and coming. But today, you know it as this huge thing. Now, I just watched this movie called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, which I lambasted all over the internet because I thought this was a terrible movie in a way, and it was advertising Christian Dior, you know, the perfume and all that other stuff. I wonder if this movie, Air, is advertising Nike in a way, and I don't like that element of these movies. I like the business and entrepreneurship topics. This is great. There's probably not enough of that, quite honestly, in movies, but do we have to pick Nike recruiting Michael Jordan for their shoes when we know Nike is this global company that has maybe some problems? So It's not really, it's an underdog story, but it's not. That's what I don't understand. Anyway, I'm not going to rant about this, but the choice is that and Super Mario Brothers. There's another corporate movie. Could this be any good? No clue, but definitely. I noticed they had some Nintendo Switch models coming out that were different or new that they're promoting. And then this sort of maybe a decent family movie, maybe schmaltzy, On a Wing and a Prayer about a guy who's in the middle of a flight. I kind of like this premise. On a Wing and a Prayer, this you can see it's Dennis Quaid, so he's picked some sort of not great family material lately, but the premise of this movie is he's on a flight, it's a small plane, and the pilot dies while he and his family are being transported in this plane. So he's got to fly the plane, never having flown a plane. Which I thought that was an interesting movie premise, just in and of itself. Now, well, this would be a feel-good family movie about kids nearly dying. I always laugh when that comes up because it's a bizarre contradiction, maybe. Paint? What? The Bob Ross movie with Owen... Is that Owen Wilson? That's Owen Wilson. And then this movie, Chupa, which I was interested in because Alfonso Cuarón's son is directing it. Looks like an E.T. movie in Mexico. I've not seen this, but I have screener access to it. So I can't figure out what to watch this weekend. What would you watch of these choices? I don't know. So there you go. Okay. So I go back to, what the heck do we watch? And I was looking at what's leaving Criterion Channel. Interesting choices. They've got a bunch of stuff on there that I think is interesting. They've got all the Harold Lloyd movies, or nearly all the featured films from 1920 through the 30s. This is great. I love Harold Lloyd. If you have kids, sit down and watch a couple Harold Lloyd movies. They're 60, 80 minutes long. Super fun. I recommend the movie Speedy. I like that a lot. The Freshman. So I like those kinds of curated collections they have. But notice they've got Dune from David Lynch sitting here. Do you guys like this movie or not? I saw on Twitter today David Lynch saying, I will never see the new Dune. And not because he doesn't like it, because he's bitter about that Dune. A movie I've always felt like it was not good for a variety of reasons. But maybe still fun to watch and try because it's Lynch, because it's science fiction, because of the source material. Probably everybody's got to try it and then realize, it's not, even if your expectations are low, it probably won't live up to those. But I'm looking at this list, I'm going, I should have rewatched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Many of you don't know this, but back when this came out, I remember it as being the sort of the first popularized, is it Hong Kong or Chinese? I can't remember. That kind of movie for mainstream American audiences. I remember this being very well received, audiences inexplicably going to it, getting nominated for awards. I haven't seen it since then, since it came out in the theater. So I don't know what I would think about it, but I meant to rewatch it for a variety of reasons. So there you go. It's sitting there on the channel, leaving. And then they've got a bunch of very good, I think they're very good noir movies from the 1940s and 50s. They're leaving for whatever reason. Robert Siodmak. I don't know how to pronounce that, honestly. I've only read it. I like this movie, Crisscross. Do you like noirs? I like them a lot. I'm going to do some features about them on the channel, but I like this one a lot. I feel like this is good. I did a review of it on Letterboxd. Really interesting ending. And then The Killers is a fantastic movie. I really like that one. I've got it really high up on my noir list. If I go to Letterboxd and go to my lists, I'm keeping track of my list, the best noirs of all, any kind of noir, even things that thwart that definition. So here's the list. You can look at it, and maybe I'm too mainstream. I don't know. Maybe it's too eclectic. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what the problems with this thing are, and this is a rough order. Somewhere on there is The Killers. Well, there's Crisscross. I thought I had The Killers up higher, but I really like the tones of that. I like Burt Lancaster in these. I can't recommend them enough for people who like older movies with this kind of material. I thought they were good. Okay, so there you go. The other one, Phantom Lady, I can't remember if I've seen or not. That's where I love Letterboxd because I log these movies, I write a little bit about them, and I come back and remind myself what I watched. So I cannot honestly remember if I've seen that. What of this list of you people in the chat would you watch? There you go. What would you watch? Lots of good chat over here. I will interact with it in a little bit. But this is really interesting. I actually have not looked at this list. So this is a total reaction on my part. A lot of these I don't know. And always when I look at these lists, I feel intimidated because how much do I not know? And the answer is a lot. So I should spend a lot of time here watching. There's the other killers. Okay, so you can, yeah, they had on Criterion these 3 killers movies. These are all derived from an Ernest Hemingway short story. So you could. I think this is fun. Personally, you will like this channel if you think this exercise is fun. Read the Ernest Hemingway short story, which I can't remember the title of it, but then it becomes The Killers. Robert Siodmak's The Killers, a very quick post-war, like 1 year after World War II noir movie with Burt Lancaster. I think it's a great movie. Then you watch the Don Siegel Killers from 1964 with Lee Marvin, and then you watch the Tarkovsky Killers. Actually, it would be the reverse order. The Tarkovsky comes. It's a short film. I think he did as a student. I think so. So, the Siodmak, the Tarkovsky, the Siegel. That's so interesting to do. And then think about adaptations of movies, differences, the influence of an adaptation on another adaptation, all kinds of great kinds of literary, film, cultural discussions there. So I thought that collection was really interesting. I did watch the Don Siegel Killers, and I did not like it very much. Why, I can't remember, so go look at my letterbox. Anyway, that's an interesting collection. I probably have highlighted on these live streams, but I like that a lot. A couple of Australian films. There's not a lot here. So frankly, this is a tiny list. And if I go to the main page, and I want to go to, this is sometimes buried. Oh, there, it's high enough up. Newly added. Sorry, I should be over here framing wise. I mean, they keep leaving. So the truth is, as I've been watching this happen, they take things off but bring things back. If it's a mainstream Hollywood movie, they tend not to bring it back. But if it's one of their own in the collection, like In a Lonely Place here, it comes off and then it goes back in the channel at some point. So they don't have everything from the Criterion Collection available all the time. But I did notice this Wachowski movie. I've never seen that. That's a pre-Matrix movie from them. Bound? Don't know that one. But they did put the Lynch movies up, and they do have a Lynch curated collection. That's partly why I mentioned them at the beginning of this video. And someone on Letterboxd said, hey, if you don't like Mulholland Drive, then don't watch Inland Empire. This Rudolfo, if he's here, or she, whoever he is. And I think I will watch Inland Empire, because that sounded like a challenge. I just need 3 hours and the headspace to do it. I mean, I know it's super weird. I know it's not going to make sense in like a plausible narrative sort of way. But now, some of you may know, I watched Mulholland Drive, and I saw it through the lenses of noir and Philip K. Dick, like one of my favorite authors. And kind of both of them together kind of had me not liking it. And I know everyone hates that because they all love Mulholland Drive for whatever reason. I just didn't get into it. I know there's umpteen thousand interpretations. There's Eastern philosophy interpretation of it, blah, 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 right? And I just didn't like it that much. And you can read my write-up on Letterboxd. But then I just watched Lost Highway, and I thought, maybe I was missing something. So I will try that. And there's a couple other Lynch movies I actually, well, the Twin Peaks stuff I have not seen. So, what's been added? This is a cornucopia. No one needs anything but Criterion if they're sort of getting into cinema and thinking about great filmmaking, great artistry in film. HBO Max is good too, but Aguirre, Wrath of God by Herzog. Okay, very well-known movie, loved. I might mention Body Heat. I thought that was a pretty good noir, I think. But there's a lot of these sort of erotic thrillers on here, and I looked them up, and the original reviews, like Roger Ebert, etc., did not have good things to say about most of these erotic reviews. Like this William Friedkin one right here. You know him as the director of The Exorcist. French Connection, right? Is this movie any good? I looked up the original reviews. They were not good on this one. But then again, they were not good on Lost Highway. So, I wonder if there's a reevaluation we need to do, but I don't know. I will say this Michael Mann movie, I promoted it here, is very good. Silence of the Lambs material. It's similar. Maybe it's even the same story. It's probably one of my favorite Michael Mann films, just so you know. So if you've never seen it, it's a federal agent trying to catch a serial killer. It does have the Silence of the Lambs thing going on in it with Hannibal Lecter being a prisoner, as you know, and then have helping out on the investigation, but not really. So there's that. So again, I do this. My message for the last 3 years hasn't changed. Criterion, HBO Max, maybe. What else does anybody need? Netflix? Not enough stuff on there for me. Disney Plus? There's a lot of terrible stuff in my opinion. Some good stuff, we want the whole Pixar collection there. But I think these are the two that are worth subscribing to, if anything. Hulu, maybe. I don't know. I have to look at Hulu. And a bunch of others like that. Mubi is another one people like to mention. What else? So there you go. I love Body Double. It's a good one. Anything else here that you guys like? Some on here I can tell you I should be watching. All right. So there's some Lynch stuff. Let me interact with the chat. This is always fun. Cheers me up. Makes me feel better. Let's see what you've got. I'm going to put up my letterbox page, and I'll just let that sit there since this has been decently successful for me, although it's weird how YouTube and letterbox have an overlap. Twitter and YouTube do not have an overlap in my experience, but letterbox does. So there you go. What have I been watching? I'll probably switch this all up, and eventually you can kind of see from this recent activity and other stuff, I will probably put out adult noir sort of things. Oh, we got Super Chat. Your thoughts. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Your thoughts on the masterpiece, Eyes Without a Face. Okay, so here's what I do. I'm 43 years old, so my brain does not always remember. I think I know what this movie is. Is this a Japanese movie? Or is this the other one? I always get this confused. There's a Japanese movie about a face transplant, isn't there? Isn't that what this is? But there's a French one too, and so I get them overlapped, and I can't remember which ones I'm screwing up here. By the way, I'm looking at... I like this reviewer. I don't even know who this is. Carl_Sun. He doesn't really say, or she doesn't say much, but kind of I'm in sync with this person, I think. So I appreciate reading them and them interacting with me. They hate it. There's one of my friends, Glacial Pacing, waste of time. Didn't I say that? Because I always comment these things from a science fiction lens. I've read enough science fiction to have a kind of a different viewpoint than other people who are not into written science fiction of a high standard, high quality. So here you go, Jimmy. So this is what you do. You go to Letterbox and look at it. Oh, Frankenheimer Seconds. Maybe that's another one I'm thinking of. Possibly the most overrated, underrated movie. I actually try to write these for myself to remind myself of what the heck I watched. Yeah, so I'm seeing that I filtered it through... that's a typo. I'm seeing I filtered it through a science fiction lens in the Twilight Zone. So that's what I did with Seconds by Frankenheimer. I felt that movie was too long. Compare it to what Rod Serling was doing, which is more tight and efficient in the better episodes of Twilight Zone. It's really hard for me not to think about these movies from about 1950 to 60 and not sort of what are the standards of the time. And really it's that. Twilight Zone and written science fiction. So sorry, Jimmy. If you like that movie, it's great. I mean, I'm sure it's great in certain ways. I'm of the opinion that I have these ways of watching movies. I think I can see different ways, but I can't see every single way to watch a movie. And there are some ways I don't have access to that say this movie is very good and worth seeing. So I'm well aware of that. There's a super chat here. Thank you so much, 200 Watt Studio. And that dovetails into this great question. So he says, love your channel, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. What are the key things that you focus on when you examine a film? Woo! Okay. There's no end to the list. The list is literally 1,000 things long. And I like to describe to my students sometimes, it's sort of a bragging moment for me, and I don't like to do it, that I compare it to people, this is like watching sports. So either American football or soccer. And when I watch American football or soccer, all I see is somebody throw a pass or somebody kick a goal. I don't see the whole movement of all 11 or 22 players on the field or whatever it is, and all the things that these other guys are doing to help the goal being scored, or help, even if it's 0-0 in soccer, like little things happening that I cannot see. And people say, that was a great game. And I say, that was 0-0. That was boring, right? So the people who say it's a great game saw it in a different way. And what they saw is like 1,000 other ways, little things or nuances that I missed. So I would compare that to movie watching. There are some movie watchers who just watch for story or a character, particular character in that character development, for the romance in the movie. Like, there must be 1,000 things to see, though. And sometimes I come at movies from movie traditions. Like all these neo-noirs from the 1990s I'm watching lately. How can I not think of all the other noirs and then think about what these noirs were up to? That's why I think David Lynch's Lost Highway is fascinating. Because it's integrating and reworking and warping probably hundreds of movies. So sometimes written science fiction, sometimes it's philosophy, sometimes it's other cultural knowledge. Those are usually, and then you've got these technical aspects: sound, lighting, color, acting, editing, sequence, all kinds of things. So I think I'm going to get to certain videos like how do you judge a movie, how do you know a movie's good. I'll start to bring this stuff up, but I feel like I am pretty good at seeing a lot of things at once in a movie, and some of my students only are watching things from like 2 or 3 different ways. Like, does this relate to my life? Do I like this character? Something like that. So there you go. I feel like the things to focus on, though, story, like this, you boiled movies down to 2 things, and I said this in a recent letterbox: story and form. So what's the overall story? What's the viewpoint of the story? Where does it go from this point at the beginning to this point in the end? And think about all the philosophical, cultural, technological, economic, etc. implications of a movie. So that's story. The other one is form. And so a lot of people watch movies like, is this cinematography? How's this done? What makes it excellent? How's it compare to other sorts of cinematography? How's it unique? And then you add editing and sound and music and acting and blocking and everything under the sun, because movies are so complex. So you got those 2 things, and I think sometimes people come to a movie and they go, oh, that's great, I love that Marvel movie. And you're watching it going, that movie sucked, right? I think they were watching it in terms of like, oh, it's a good story, or I like the character, and this interacted with these other Marvel movies in interesting ways to me. And you're like, well, I've seen all these other science fiction superhero movies, and this one, by comparison, in these ways, was not good. So, to answer your question, I feel like there is an endless amount of stuff you could focus on 200-watt studio to answer your question. But I think the story and the form and what I can notice in the first viewing and how it interacts with previous movies and written material, written literature, it tends to be like where I'm coming from often. So there you go. Oh, goodness. Thanks for the super chats. Really appreciate them. Substack. Can I throw a link? Matt, I think I put a link to the Substack in my description, but if I didn't, just search for that title, From a Certain Point of View. Oh, yeah, you can't really see it there. From a Certain Point of View. I don't know what the display is, but that's the name of my Substack, or me. I think you can find it if you search for it on the Substack network. Yeah, appreciate it. That's quite honestly the best way to donate, if people are going to donate, because I get a huge cut of the of their donations, but YouTube is fine. Thank you so much for the super chats. Yeah, Substack, by the way, I named it From a Certain Point of View. Do you guys know what that comes from? From a Certain Point of View? I was in love with that title. I was going to name my first book, movie book, if I ever get there, that very title. I thought, no, I'll just name my Substack and claim that one, although I don't know if somebody else has it. But yeah, it's from Return of the Jedi, and it's kind of funny to me. It's kind of a funny pun, as you might know. Anyway, do I take notes? Yeah. Normally I do. Let's see if I have some. Oh, yeah. I started to take Vertigo notes. Those are my Vertigo notes. How terrible. There's like nothing there. I don't even know what this stuff means. Yeah, if I write something down during a movie, then I will just remember it. Okay, so actually the act of taking notes helps me to remember in my memory what I think and kind of solidifies that. I almost never refer to my notes when thinking about a movie after the fact or writing about it or creating a video. I almost always do the videos just from my brain. I have no script. Which may be why they're errors or maybe why they're jumpy or something like that. But I usually do take notes, but then that helps me remember. So the only times I will refer to my notes is if I'm writing down times. Like this thing happened at this time or this quote happened at this time. And then I have to look at a clock or a watch. But yeah, I find that notes are helpful to me for this material, like videos and writing. Would you do that for entertainment purposes? No. On the weekend, watching a movie with my kids, like I just watched Captain Underpants. Guilty pleasure movie on my part. Let me get Eyes Without a Face. I am promoting this movie. I just think it's fun. The only time I like potty humor, I think it's clever. I'm in the minority. I'm not talking about the comic book. Well, I don't have a good visual on that, but yeah. I didn't take notes during that. So I'm not going to do that. But I should have. Because I want to do a video on Captain Underpants and explain why I think it's a pretty decent movie overall. Oh, man. Now I'm going to get myself in trouble. All right. You guys are great. Let's see. Hello, Hippolito. Good to see you. Yeah, I need to watch Straight Story again. Have you guys seen Straight Story lately? And what's weird? Lost Highway, 2 years later, Lynch does the Disney Straight Story. And it's sitting there on the Disney Plus channel, the Straight Story, the movie about the older man who drives a lawnmower across Iowa to see his brother. I have seen that movie. I think it's very good. I find it fascinating that you have a Lost Highway and all the ideas and themes in that, and then Lynch jumps to a kind of highway movie. So I'm trying to figure out the Lynch thing. Because how does Eraserhead fit in with Elephant Man? How does Straight Story fit in with Mulholland Drive? What are the overlaps and the connections? What is the sort of auteur thing going on there? I don't know. And I might just need to watch Lynch chronologically, although I am really scared to do that because he's going to mess with... My brain will be warped for a month if I do that. If I watch Lynch movies chronologically for a couple weeks... Has anybody tried to do this? So I'm a little scared of that, quite honestly. Yeah. So that's a good question. Perhaps the least Lynchy movie is A Straight Story. Maybe. Yeah. You met a Christian Dior employee. What do they think of Mrs. Harris in Paris? Tarkovsky's birthday. Happy birthday, Andre. You suffered for your art. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I mean, Andre Tarkovsky is one of the absolute greats ever. And I started to think yesterday about art in the 20th century. How would painting, the art of painting and the development of the art of painting been different if there was no movies? Totally speculative, kind of stupid college 3 a.m. question. But you think of all the artists like Lynch, Tarkovsky, etc., who could have gone into painting, sculpture, other kinds of media. What would those things have been like? How would they have been like because I gotta think a lot or almost all the artistic talent, we'll just say a lot of the artistic talent in the 21st century has gone into video. Movies, TV, video games. And, you know, maybe that's great. I don't know. What would Tarkovsky's paintings have been like? I should put that into an AI. Oh. There is a Twitter account for you. What if Tarkovsky was a impressionist? Right? Go to Midjourney, get an account, start posting. You probably get 100,000 followers. There's a free social media account for some of you. What if a great director was a painter? I shouldn't say these things out loud, but go do that. I bet maybe someone's done it. That would be fascinating. What if Stalker were a series of paintings or a triptych? Yeah. So, happy birthday. I have a lot of Tarkovsky videos on my channel. It's one way I started out, really. I'm reading the comments here, yeah. Mulholland Drive, Bound. Yep. Oh, good. Yeah, I went to a short film festival last weekend for the first time. Very good. Where was that? Actually, you shouldn't tell me. Don't reveal your identity. Stay anonymous. But yeah, I'm always interested. By the way, if you have film festivals that you think are great, I would be interested in going. I know of the big ones. I'm sort of interested in the one, like I went to the Kansas Silent Film Festival. It was great. It's free. I can do whatever I want. It's casual, but then I learn a lot. I wrote about that. Yeah. So if you have ideas for film festivals that don't have 20,000 people, because I do not like crowds. I'm not kidding you. I don't want to be around a lot of people. Yeah. Oh yeah, Amazon Prime is a streaming service. One day I need to do a video. Sorry to rant or babble, but Amazon Prime was fantastic for a couple years, like their first couple of years, and the movies they made in like 2017, the era of Patterson and oh shoot, Manchester by the Sea. I'm trying to think of the other ones. There was a bunch of them in this time period, and then the head director got fired for Me Too stuff of Amazon movie studios. So I feel like they've gone way down in quality since then. I'm not saying that was a good or bad firing. I don't know. What do you use to watch Region B Blu-rays? Good question. I am a strong advocate. Get a region-free Blu-ray player. Why? Because then you can get any kind of Blu-ray you want. And there's a lot of movies that I like, that some of you like, that are not available in the Region 1 or the North American version. It's ridiculous. And there's lots of good Blu-rays being made overseas in Europe and maybe other places, for I know, but England and France and so on. So what I actually do is I rip the Blu-ray to my computer, and then I will take a USB and put that in the Blu-ray player if it's not region free. So I'll take the MP4 or whatever video file, and the Blu-ray player will play it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, earlier, Eyes of Another Face, whatever, and then The Face of Another. I get those two movies confused. They're about the same time period. So Jimmy Goodman, thanks Jimmy. I like that name. Yeah. By the way, 200 West Studio, thanks for the other super chat. Yeah. Exactly. So story is what the movie is about, what the plot is, what the topics are, what the themes are, what the characters do, how the characters change. Form, if you want to be reductive, and this is totally reductive, form is how the movie is about, what it's about. So you can have a story about a guy crossing Iowa on a lawnmower, but then David Lynch picks these certain ways of filming that, and this way of sequencing that. So that's editing choices, cinematography choices, sound choices, and composition, and on and on and on. And you would have a very different story or way of filming that story. There could be a million ways of filming it. So form is about the particular choices made and how they sort of add up. And a lot of people will emphasize form, on form over content in a way, form over story. But yeah, that was a good comment there. Thank you. Hopefully people are learning from this. Yeah. This is great. Yeah. Carl Creighton, thank you, Carl. I think David Lynch is mostly about bold strokes. One of the letterbox users, I can't remember which one, says David Lynch movies have no subtext. As if they're sort of laying bare the unconscious desires, as if they're sort of getting out there all the therapeutic findings that you would have in some kind of session with a therapist, and there they sit. I'm not sure that's correct. In fact, I think every movie has lots and lots of subtext. So I'm not sure that was right, but it does seem right in a way. David Lynch movies have no subtext. They're always sort of naked about describing somebody's desires, wants, motives. Maybe. I think about that. It's a good way of maybe putting it, and that maybe get us to the connection between Elephant Man and Eraserhead, for example, which is a conundrum I have. Brian Maloney, hi Josh. As an English prof, if literariness is defined by the features that distinguish a literary work from an ordinary text, yeah, is there a movie equivalent? What moves a movie out of the, quote, ordinary? So he's asking, assuming it's a he, what makes a work of literature as opposed to this other stuff that is not literature, right? And one of the classic definitions of literature is that it applies to anything. Like some cult comes up to your door and knocks and says, hey, would you like some of our literature? That is a way of describing a pamphlet, an ad hoc pamphlet a cult makes. And so literature can be literally everything. And frankly, the way that American academic institutions have treated literature as a study in the last 30, maybe 40 years at least, is that literature is open to anything, including things that don't have words, like maps. So literary analysis, literary studies will include everything and not just high art literature and separate that out from low art. But in the popular imagination, there's still literature which is higher than or better than technically. That's an older, like 18th century definition. Belles lettres, beautiful writings. Beautiful writings are better than ordinary writings, right? So I'm always ambivalent about those divisions. I feel like, yeah, that's true on the one hand. Everything is literature. But yeah, that's true on the other hand. There's some literature that's better than others. I feel the same way about movies. I think all movies could be great, including Captain Underpants. I also feel like, yeah, there are better movies than 90 to 99% of the fare out there. And you should just go watch anything that Netflix has been releasing lately. Maybe you don't know this. I'm privy to it. Netflix and their screeners they're releasing 15 movies a month. And of those 15, I really just can't even imagine what one is decent. They're targeting people. They're using algorithms to create movies, etc. So they have this target audience of 50,000 people that are subscribing, and they're trying to hit that audience with this movie. But that doesn't mean it's technically excellent. So I get confused about this a little bit, because what moves a movie out of the ordinary? And one of the very easy answers is, well, it's just better technically, better form. And that I think, I could be wrong, that is where you get the division between cinema and movies. Actually, you could sort this all out. Cinema, so you use my hand, cinema, film, movies, flicks. Right? Think about those four words and what social context they're using. If you go to an American university, you're going to watch cinema. It's going to be film studies at least. It's not going to be movie studies. It's going to be film studies. But in theory, they'll watch anything, including Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Captain Underpants. And I'm not saying those are bad, by the way. So I feel like what moves a movie out of the ordinary, here is one thing that definitely does. A lot of people like it and use it in a variety of ways, and a movie continues to be influential in a variety of ways. Okay. Now, I'm not arguing that a good movie is popular. I'm arguing that a good movie intersects with a person and with their reality so well that they continue to be inspired by it. Maybe they'll create art from it, and maybe they keep talking about it. So, for example, people keep reading Lord of the Rings. People have like Moby Dick reading sessions. There are lots and lots of people wildly influenced by Moby Dick. Frankly, if American universities disappeared off the planet today, Moby Dick would still be a great book. Why? Because authors love it and are heavily influenced by it, because there are a lot of readers who they do things with it. They have it in book clubs. They have their own special like Melville societies, Herman Melville societies. So you think Moby Dick is just because a professor say it's good? No. It's because people use it. People like it. So that's one possible way. Now, that doesn't mean, though, you think about all the movies, like Marvel movies, people are doing things with Marvel movies. Does that make them good? Right? I don't know. But I feel like you guys are telling me David Lynch is great. Why? Because you keep seeing things in his older art that's now 30 and 40 years old that resonates with your lives and is useful to you. So that's one way of, I think, moving things. I'm answering this as if this is a super chat. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting question, though. And it's something maybe, in fact, I'm going to write that down. A video idea. Very good video idea. Difference between ordinary movies. Because I do have this idea. I've said it many, many, many times that I have the 90% rule. 90% of everything is crap. I mean, not maybe exactly, but that does mean that 10% of anything is pretty good. But most things are not good because they don't survive in a way. It's like some kind of Darwinian evolution thing there. They don't survive over the long term. They just disappear. And maybe not for good reasons, by the way. Streaming has allowed us to see more movies and to revive a lot of movies. But a lot of movies are still terrible in a variety of ways. So, ordinary movies versus high art movies. A couple more questions here. This is fantastic. Lynch does paint. Of course he does. I did know that, but I don't remember any of his paintings. Does he make it to art galleries? I mean, is his work considered high art? Do people like bid on it and stuff? I don't know. I've never looked into that part of his life. That's a really interesting comment. The Neon Demon, yeah. I don't have recommendations for books about German Expressionism. Because not off the top of my head. That's a good question, though. I love it. You love it, but I can't think of any right now. Why? I don't know. Let me look into that. Here's the last one I'll deal with. People, I wanted to promote this, so at the end you shouldn't promote stuff, but I did make a full-length movie commentary on Man with a Movie Camera, and a user synced up the movie Man with a Movie Camera with my commentary. I think the link to that is only on Discord, but that was fascinating. I didn't think to do that. So yeah, you can watch the movie Man with the Movie Camera, one of the greatest movies ever made, according to a lot of people. Not me, but a lot of people. I like it. I think it's fascinating. And you can watch that movie and my commentary at the same time. Hopefully that's helpful. And you asked, will I do another movie commentary video? All right. What movie do you want me to comment on? And the trick here is, I love that sync of the two. But you can't just find any old movie and sync it with commentary. As a user did with my Man with the Movie Camera video. So it's got to be something old or in the public domain. Something that's easy to find. That's where I get confused about this. I know people do commentaries on YouTube, full-length movie commentaries, and they do them on Mulholland Drive. But I always find that to be... I want the user experience to be easy. So I want the user just to click on something, and there's the movie, and there's the commentary. Or there's not much more than that going on. So what videos do you have? You know what I should do? I'm looking at the comment above it. I should do Terence Malick. Ding, ding, ding. Thank you. Yes. You guys are great. Oh, this is why I do this. I learn more from this channel than you guys learn from me. All right. So Days of Heaven, maybe. Or, that's a great one. Or Badlands. Woo. Those are the easy ones because they're shorter. The other later Malick movies are longer. Although, wouldn't it be great to do Tree of Life and to watch me be perplexed as we watch that? I like the commentary ideas because so much of YouTube is emotive. And that's not my style, but to emote on camera and go, wow, that's amazing. That people like that. Maybe not you guys, but people like it. The Malick idea is great. Those wouldn't be available online readily, but you could find the movies. Okay, so I'm thinking out loud here. Anyway, that's great. I haven't had a comment in a while. That's fine. I enjoyed this. Yeah, thanks for your questions, Brian. That was great. Thanks for the super chat, 200 watt. And Jimmy, thank you. this made my day. Fantastic. Thank you all. Substack, letterbox, blah, blah, blah. More videos to come. Have a great month of April. See you in May. For me, it's springtime. Sorry, the Australia people. If you're getting to winter, but for me, spring. Thank you. See you later.